Okay, I guess I'm back. So where I left off last time was the project couldn't build. Um, I've since then addressed the issue. So I think I'm gonna start off tonight with the errata items first and foremost, and then I'll move on to what I was doing last time, which was also trying to put strings together in C, which is always a fun activity. Okay, so so apparently the way I was including my libraries into my application was completely incorrect at first. I made some bad assumptions that the of how CMake worked, and I have to be honest, the documentation isn't exactly the most straightforward with how a lot of this works. So I had to fix it, and the way I ended up doing that is I added the find path and find library, find path and then find library for both curl and pthreads. For whatever reason, this computer was actually compiling in pthreads without me knowing about it. Probably because of how I had it set up with the target link libraries. But curl wasn't compiling. It couldn't find any of the symbols for it, so this was the way to do it. Finding the path of where it exists, finding the actual library path of where it exists, include the directories, add them to my libraries my ongoing list of libraries, and then go ahead and target those and link them down below. I also did some other things. I added some compiling flags, so I've now officially added WAL to the project. I've also added a bin folder through a gitignore in there, so that way this never gets uploaded into the repository. And that's basically where I'm at. There's other items too that I will address. So that's it for the CMake file. And the project now compiles beautifully with curl in it. So I'm just going to go ahead and move along then to the remainder items. So that's that. Okay, so just a little easy pickings here. Before I was checking for greater than 0 after this global init call. Having looked online at the documentation a little bit more, I found out that the function returns actually an enum. So, well, it doesn't explicitly say that it returns an enum, but if this function returns a non-zero, something went wrong. Well, it just so happens that curl OK is the enum version of 0. So I went ahead and did an explicit check on that. And that takes care of that erratum. Time for the big one. So last time I wasn't exactly sure of how I wanted to handle the curl global init function right here. What ended up happening was later that evening, I went ahead, later Friday evening, I went ahead and tried to do some searching on the global init. For curl, there's multiple problems with it. There's a thread problem, and then there's a global initialization problem, and then there's the cleaning up problem. So I'll go off with I'll start off with how I went about, or I think, okay, well, what I'm trying to get at here is that I think the middle one that I was talking about, which was the global initialization problem, that was the first problem I wanted to try to solve. It turns out that curl global init gets called in two places. It can get called explicitly whenever we decide to do it, or whenever we establish an actual curl a curl pointer for lack of better words, it will go ahead and call the curl global init for me. That's nice in smaller applications, but in modular applications, that cannot work. So then I went ahead and obviously I looked into the actual curl global init problem for my actual module here, where I'm allocating an Elasticsearch and I'm deallocating Elasticsearch. Well, I found out that curl global init does its own reference counting, so I really don't need to have any of these checks in here at all. The problem is, though, is I don't think there's any reference counting for the curl global cleanup. I didn't look at that function specific in depth enough to really be able to determine that. But so problem number 3, I forgot what I said a moment ago. That's fine. So what I have here would work okay, but then there's the threading problem. The threading problem is that you only need to have the curl global init called once, and it needs to be prior to your thread initializations. Even though curl is thread safe, the curl global init itself is not. So at least I guess according to the docs, so you can't reestablish that within threads. So so whenever you try to include another module, you might reestablish the global init in another thread, and that might screw with things if you're using another module that has curl. There's so many problems with this. And then finally, the last thing I looked into is how to actually global init it. They recommended that in the actual docs that if you're creating some sort of a modular application, that your modules go ahead and try to create its own functions that get called globally, so that way you have control over what actually, or how this actually gets called. Well, I don't like that either, because then I can't do it here. I would actually have to add API to my library, or not library, but to my header file, public API, that would actually allow me to, or that would actually force users of this API to go ahead and call these global functions anyway. I feel like this is like a horrible spiraling out of control problem. So I have a couple of options. I can bite the bullet and just do it. Make my application or make my API have these global functions, and put the burden on the user. Or I could go ahead and try to just call the curl init globally on my application within my main function, so that way I don't have to worry about it. I'm actually leaning more towards this idea here. I think what I'm going to actually end up doing is I'm going to remove the dependency of curl on this header file, so that way anyone can implement this how they want to, with or without curl. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then I'm going to, in my main function, I'm just going to replace these calls here with or replace these calls here, or move them from here to the main function. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, just to get this out of the way. I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then let's see, not that. Where is the Elasticsearch C file? So I'm going to go ahead and globally init it. I'll check for an error in a moment, but just thinking through this logic here, there's no need to do any go-tos. So I'm going to go ahead and remove my label. And then I'm going to remove my static initializer to check for if it has been initialized. And then, of course, clean it up afterwards. I don't know how other library developers handle this situation, but I mean, if they do if they have their own globally init functions as well, I mean, I can't blame them, but I don't like that at all. I just feel like this is like a very poor decision on the curl developers side of things, but I'm not going to complain about it too much here. Curl, okay. I'm just going to exit with the failure at this stage, because why not? I didn't allocate anything at this point, so I think that's appropriate. So I actually highlighted the problem here. A module like this must have a global constant and functions of its own, just like curl global init and curl global cleanup. The module thus has control at the beginning and end of the program and has a place to call the libcurl functions. Yeah, see, this is, I don't like this. So, and that's how I'm going to solve this problem. Quick, dirty, but it'll have to do. So. Alright, I'm getting little compile messages here. Okay, so the remainder of these compiling issues have to do with where I also left off last time. There's no further errata going on here, so I'm just going to pick up where I left off. And that is building a URL. So I'm going to ignore those two because they don't really matter here at the moment, but this one I might... Okay, yeah, I'm just going to start here. Okay, so... Give me a second while I try to recollect my thoughts of where I was at. So when I establish a connect, I get the string length of the URL, base URL of where Elasticsearch is at. Go ahead and create one internally. Allocate that. Clean up curl because I've tried to init it right here. I could probably refactor this a little bit so that way I don't do the curl call right up top. And instead I just perform the copy cleanup. But either way I have to clean them both up no matter what. Anyway, so I'm checking for null. Okay, returning false. Alright, so then copy the URL, certain number of characters over, and we have our URL to use here now. Okay, so that sets up the base URL. The problem is that I'm going to need to call this EasySetOpt for curl opt URL everywhere, where I'm going to actually use this because I'm actually modifying this URL for each of my API functions here. So let's see here. So create index if not exist. Okay, and then insert. Okay, so it looks like I started to get a little work done on this helper method here to combine URL pieces together that Elasticsearch relies on, and then just append them. I don't know if I necessarily need to do this. I think Elasticsearch has query parameters I could probably use, but in my testing it didn't really quite work out that way, so I think it's best if I just continue on getting the name of the index and the name of the document from Elasticsearch, get their links, and then try to append them onto this URL, base URL. I should probably rename that. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and do that so that way it's more clear of what's going on. Okay, change that to base. Whoa, so show usages. Alright, do refactor there. Oh, well, I don't know what I screwed up. Hopefully nowhere else am I using URL. Everything seems to be alright. Okay. Oh, I know. I can use Git. It's a great time for Git. Just to be sure. Yeah. Okay, so... Yeah, I'm pretty sure I've just done the replacement where it's needed. Okay. Okay, so I'm working on this append document function that's going to build a URL and a string for me. So base URL. I'm going to go ahead and rename this to. All right. Okay. So Elasticsearch has an index and it has a document. So I'm going to grab the length of those, add them together. Minus, so with the length, we're going to get both the null terminating character twice. We only need it once, so we need to -1 here. But if I had 3 at this point, if we're trying to do this dynamically, I might try to do some multiplication just to make it a little easier to keep track of -1. But don't need to do that here. We only know that we have 2, so we just need to subtract 1. So we have the total length of the suffix. All right, suffix length. So we're going to first allocate the built URL to be the same size of our current URL. So char pointer, malloc that to the size of, size of char times our search, and then base URL length. Then we're going to do strn copy from built URL to where our source is, search base URL. And we're going to do that the length times, so search base URL length. Okay. There might be a trailing slash. I sure hope not. I don't want to deal with trailing slashes at the moment, so I'll let that one slide. Just have to assume that it's a well-formed URL without any trailing slashes. Really, what I need to do is not do that. I need to now add that to the total length. Suffix length. So just allocate it all in one fell swoop. I don't think I'm going to do a null check on that if it didn't actually allocate, but there is always a possibility that it doesn't. But I figure if that's the case, then there's bigger issues at play here. Okay, then I'm going to strn copy built URL plus the offset of search base URL length -1, and then we're going to go ahead and then add onto that the slash index piece, which I don't know how to do. You know what might be better? I wonder if I could create some sort of formatter, or use some sort of formatter thing that will go ahead and put the pieces in there, add the slashes, and then I can get the total off of that. But I would need some sort of buffer to hold that all. And I don't know what that would be. A good size for that. I don't know a good size for that. It's a lot easier with languages where I could just use some sort of keyword to to do the concatenation. I forgot about these pesky slashes. Let's see here. Because the format would be base URL slash index slash document. I could probably get away with, I mean, it's not going to take up too much memory, I don't think. This might be easier if I just go ahead and create some buffer of, I don't know, 120. We'll just do that. And then this should make this a heck of a lot easier. I think there's a macro function. I think it's str strcat. Is that a concatenation function? I have to Google this. I don't typically do strings very often in string or in C. So let's see here. Well, this is one way to do it. Yeah, I think I might just use this actually. This could be a lot easier. I'll just have to assume that the buffer can handle it, which is cool with me. I'm pretty sure it can. The problem with this buffer though is that I can't just return it. I would need to allocate it to new memory anyway because, or the result to new memory anyway because I'm going to be using the result of that. I can't just return it from this function. So, all right, I'm cool with that. Okay, we'll just do it this way. This seems to be super easy to do. So, all right, ignore all that crap. We'll just do strcat and then we'll put in the buffer. We'll start off with the search base URL, strcat buffer, add a slash because that's just what we do. Concatenate on it again. Another, or this time the index. And then we're going to do buffer the document, or another slash, sorry, and then gotta love library functionality here. Document. Okay, so that should take care of that. Assuming 120 characters is not enough, I'll go ahead and bump that to probably is 100. I mean, 120 is probably good enough. Let me look at my URL here. This alone doesn't even equal 120 plus the base URL, but 120 still may be quite short. The max URL length is kind of stupid, and even on servers, so I think I'll just keep it like 250 or something. That's a decent amount. Okay. I wonder what str length is going to do here. What I ought to do is I ought to clear this out, and then I can get a clear indication of what the length of this is going to be. So how would I do that? Is it mem copy? No. Memset? Yeah, I could do that. Do that, and we'll set it to null terminating all about. and then we'll go ahead and then set that to 250. So that should clean out the whole buffer there, and then now I need to copy it. So I'll just get the length, str lane of the buffer, and hopefully this will be just enough. Hopefully this is not the full 250. I don't think it should be. And then I'm going to go ahead and create a new pointer that we need to allocate. And then copy everything over. Char pointer times size of, malloc size of char, excuse me, times the total URL length, and then go ahead and return that built URL. And then, well, first of all, copy it, strn copy built URL from the buffer for the total URL length. And let's see what that gives me when I use it. So just for a proof of concept, I think I'll use it originally here. So go ahead and get a char pointer going. URL equals append document name. Okay. Okay, so I put a breakpoint in there. Elasticsearch create if not exist is not being invoked, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and do all my allocations here. So struct for Elasticsearch pointer search equals allocate. Allocate Elasticsearch. Okay. And then I'm going to go ahead and create that base URL. So Elasticsearch connect, which is going to take the search and then a string to our URL endpoint. I'm going to copy from whatever I have here in PAW, which is localhost at 9200. Okay, no trailing slash. Need to make sure that once it's done, Elasticsearch. I don't know why I was trying to autocomplete that struct there. Oh yeah, deallocate. So that's why I called it deallocate. Pass in the search there. Okay. Dot to 0. I'm sick of these. I'm sick of the autocomplete not working. So include Elasticsearch H. All right. So we're gonna allocate it, connect it, deallocate it, and then I need to remember to disconnect it. And that should be okay. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and call that function Elasticsearch create if not, or if index not exist. Okay, and then I'm going to pass in the search. The index is, I believe I called it priv message. And then the document is called, oh wait, no, sorry. Elastic IRC Bot is my index, priv message is my document, sorry. So I have those two backwards. This brings up a good point. I need to further append to this string. Which I ought to do at some point, but not right now. Man, I really don't like creating these things. Anyway, let's see here. Alright, so we got a few compiler issues. Incompatible. Oh, okay. So I need to change that from character to string literal. Alright, my breakpoint's set, so I'm going to go ahead and run it. Let's see what we get here. Alright, so total URL length is 45 characters. Awesome. The build URL built just fine, even better. Okay, wow, that actually worked a lot better than I thought it was going to. So, sweet. Yeah. Awesome. Okay, so with the last remaining piece, I need to allocate it with another, I'm just going to call this some arbitrary, I'm just going to call it additional, because why not? Str You know, I wonder if it did say that this is macro expansion in that actual error output, so I wonder if I could just actually just trail things on indefinitely. I'll take a look at that here in a second. All right, let's go ahead and see what we have here. Oh yeah, we can trail them on indefinitely. Well, how about that? Oh, it doesn't like that? Oh, okay. I guess I can't. My mistake. I assume that that dot 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 meant everything, and then there's vargs, and there's all sorts of stuff here. Yeah, okay. Nope, never mind then. Okay, so what do we have here? strlen. All right, so if there's additional, go ahead and append another slash. Go ahead and I should probably have other checks here, but I'm requiring a document additional. They should be assumed to not be empty, but additional can be, so I'm just going to go ahead and check for that. So I need to modify that up above. And add that there. Sweet. Okay. So the built URL, we have that now. Now we're going to actually, I wonder if I could parameterize this. Ooh, no, it does not like that. Shoot. Okay, instead of doing, okay, so make this easy. Null. I wonder if this will throw an error, so let me go ahead and build it real quick. that definitely threw an error. Build it, debug it. Okay, so there is a bad access because additional is null. So actually, I could just do this. But I like to be explicit. So additional null. And built just fine, and I should not be getting that bad access. Perfect. Perfect, perfect, perfect. And then here, I can just go on ahead and throw the... Well, I wonder if all my other endpoints use that underscore search. No, that doesn't use it, so okay. So it's just the query that uses it. So the additional will serve a purpose for additional pieces of the query string. All right, cool. Awesome. So I have my URL, and I got to do curl set opt, easy set opt to the search curl curl opt URL. So I'm going to rewrite it to this new URL, and that should take care of that. All right. Okay, cool. So this brings up an interesting point. I can't invoke these functions without an Elasticsearch instance, but I also can't invoke them without a connection established. So this is kind of what I wanted to, this was kind of the fun piece that I wanted to get in tonight, really, was that I wanted to come up with some sort of way to represent that. Now, I learned a technique a couple years back. Well, I didn't necessarily learn this technique, but it came to, well, all right, I came upon this technique is a better way to put it. So I was at a conference, and there was a Pluralsight author there by the name of Floyd May, who has a course on Fluent API design. In an object-oriented language, what that means is essentially the equivalent of method chaining, but the key difference between method chaining and Fluent API design is how the method chaining either gives you access to API or revokes access to API. So one example is that if I were to have a C# application and I had a class called, well, I'll just use Elasticsearch as an example. So if I had an Elasticsearch object, what I would want to invoke, hold on, I'm going to get rid of those comments here just to make this easy. What I would want to do is I would have two options. I would have the option connect or the option disconnect. Okay. Now, but what if I want to do my functionality here where I do the search? Well, I can't do the search unless connect or disconnect have been called first. But what disconnect or connect would return back, well, not disconnect, but would disconnect would ideally return void. But what connect should return back would be some sort of other object like elastic connection inst, right? And then that would give me options to do my search or insert, or I guess in this case disconnect. So I wouldn't even have, right, this makes more sense. So I wouldn't even have the elasticsearch.disconnect even to begin with. Like, in order to get to that point, we would have to go through establishing a connected instance, and then I can invoke this functionality on it. And then ultimately, I would call elastic connection inst.disconnect. And that would be a Fluent API design. So I can do my search, I can do my insert, I can do whatever at this point. But eventually, inevitably, I have to end up at the disconnect. So that's essentially the key difference between arbitrary or just method chaining in general, and then what a Fluent API would expose. And the way this works in something like C# is that it would just be interfaces. But we're working in C. There is no object-oriented programming, not unless we add it in ourselves. I'm kind of doing that already here, except I do not have a Fluent API. What I have instead here is just a run-of-the-mill. You can call these out of order anytime you want, and I don't like that. So what I could do here is I could take a hint from Fluent API design, and instead, from this connect, I could return a specialized struct that's going to be passed into this functionality, into the if not exist, search insert, and then the disconnect. Okay, so that's kind of the way how I want to handle this API. So that way you're forced to have a connect. You're not necessarily forced to have a disconnect, but in order to approach and reach these other options, you have to be able to establish that connection first. So instead of returning bool, here I'm going to return some sort of a struct. I'm going to return an Elasticsearch connection. So forward declare that, and then return a struct last. Now I don't know if this is proper C pattern here. I don't know if this is a proper C pattern, but I do like this a lot because now it is going to force us into you're either connected or this will force us into the position where we have to be connected to do anything. So you can't call this out of order. Now you can call the disconnect out of order. So I may need to do something to try to handle that situation. But this is me just toying around with different ideas of how to approach or bring object-oriented programming into C. Let's see here. I think I like this. And instead of calling it search, I'm going to call these connections. Okay. So I'm going to change the API to reflect that. So in order to disconnect, you have to have a connection. In order to do anything, you have to have a connection. But I don't want to handle the case where you disconnect. Okay, so the disconnect is kind of awkward, but I think this will do for now. So I'm just going to go ahead and move along with this. And then I have to update my entire C file now. Okay. So this now needs to return a pointer to the new struct. All right. This now must take that new struct. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy and paste all over the place. I don't know if I can update from here. Let me try it. Oh, okay, cool. I can just do that. Sweet. C line to the rescue. Awesome. I'm probably going to need to change this to that connection too. Let's see here. Alt enter this one. Okay. So we have an obvious problem going on now. First of all, we don't have the connection or any of our state that we had before available to us. So I'm going to have to do some refactoring to that. But before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and create this Elasticsearch connection object. So how am I going to do that? Okay. I think I'm going to do this in a different order here. Okay, so if con equals struct Elasticsearch connection pointer, malloc that to size of the struct Elasticsearch connection equal to null. Just going to go ahead and return null. Okay, now we have that. We do need some cleanup now. Otherwise, we're going to go ahead and return the connection. All right. So let's see here how we want to do this. So we're going to go ahead and do easy init that. Actually, what I could do is I could just do this in one fell swoop. We don't really have any dependencies. This is kind of like an all or nothing deal here. So that's okay. Then I don't need this cleanup here. I'll just free it all up. There shouldn't be any error. By passing in null to easy cleanup. There might be, but it probably shouldn't. Any error. Search base URL, and then I'm going to free the connection. So, oh gosh, I didn't copy it. All right, so free the connection, free the search. And then clean it up and inevitably return null. That way I don't need to have this check up here. Okay. Now, this will only work well if Easy Cleanup can accept a null. Pretty sure it can. I don't think it'll ever be null. Well, I mean, it might if it can't allocate it. But again, there might be other issues involved. I think we might be safe. Okay, it does return null if something went wrong. Okay, I'll just switch the order of things. I don't feel comfortable doing what I did here. I'm just gonna go ahead and curl equal to null to go ahead. This is probably why I had it at the top, very top anyway. And this way, doesn't matter if that's null, I'll always clean up. Okay, good. Okay, so we return this new connection, we allocate it, we return it. Okay, but we still have one issue here. I need to be able to put the search state into this. So I'm going to go ahead and create a pointer for that. Struct elastic search pointer to, we'll just call it search. And then what we will do is right down here before we return it, go ahead and add it to it. So search equals the search. Okay, so that way we keep the state. Turn the connection, so wherever I see this right here, I need to replace it. So I'm just going to do this in one fell swoop. Probably not up here, definitely not up here. I went too far. C1, and then that's the last one. So this is going to be not search, but search arrow, which is not confusing whatsoever. But I can fix that with alt, or not that command. No, Shift F4, or is it F6? Shift F6. I opened it up in a new window accidentally. Here we go. Shift F6. Now, there we go. We'll call this connection. Okay. Same thing here. Make it clear. And then same here. And then that takes a search, that takes a search. This needs to be deallocate, deallocate that. So this is going to take the actual search, but before we can, so the deallocate is always going to try to do the disconnect. I didn't think about this situation. So we're going to deallocate the search, but we need to deallocate this deallocate the connection. I think I know what we could do. I think the disconnect will take care of that. I think I'll do that with the disconnect. So if that's equal to null, then go ahead and return false. This is going to throw an error. I'm not going to worry about doing a null check here on the connection. It should be assumed. So here, I might as well go ahead and do the freeing of the Elasticsearch connection. So when that happens, then we can go ahead and deallocate this search. So that's fine. It should be user beware anyway. At this point, if they deallocate the search before the connection, they can deallocate those at separate times, and I think that's okay. Because this will return true or false if it actually happened, and then they can deallocate after that. I don't want to pigeonhole anybody. I mean, they could deallocate this at any time, and everything will be hunky-dory because we already, if they've ever established a connection in the first place, that would be floating around anyway. They should just know to disconnect. Okay. All right. So I think that's it for my Fluent API. Now I have to reflect that in my code, and we'll do a quick test to make sure that it's all working correctly. So we'll go ahead and do EL connection, and then I'm going to change this to EL con. Okay. Cool. So go ahead and build that. There should be no warnings. Oh, there is one warning, but I don't care about that one right now. And everything seems to be working a-okay. The cool thing is that I'm establishing a connection to curl. I'm just not doing anything with it at the moment when I call this function here. So just to demonstrate. We'll get this far, we'll get to the URL. The trick will be to add a curl get or some sort of curl thing to go ahead and move along with it. Now this 0x or this extra character here kind of concerns me. That shouldn't be there, so I need to look at my append index real quick. I don't know why that's being thrown in there. Oh, there's also something else being thrown in there too that wasn't there before. It's happening before the slash. Huh, that don't seem right. Did I not do my copy okay? Let's see here. My original copy on the connect. Well, that's all true. I don't want to say -1 here because I need that actual full length. Recall that strings have a null terminating character at the end there, so I need to actually have the full length. I wonder what's throwing that extra character in there. Let me see something real quick. Go ahead and stop that, and then put on the debugger again. Set the breakpoint. Okay, so that's actually perfect. Just when I call it next, that's perfect too. Huh? Weird. I wonder if something funky's going on. Could be that this mem set is not fully zeroing things out on release. I don't know. Probably not. Dang. That kind of sucks. Okay, well. Yeah, we'll see. If we ran into it once, we're likely to run into it again. I don't think it's a one-off error here, just because we are allocating a new string here at the precise length of the URL. So, Alright, whatever. I'm going to go ahead and remove that from there. And I'm just going to copy and paste this down below. Okay. I need to add the index name and the document name to this. This needs to be refactored. Nope, F6 to connection. Okay. All right. Okay, so I think I'm going to go try this out actually. So I'm going to go ahead and try to create an index if it doesn't exist. So moving along in the wonderful world of curl. What I need to perform next is this. Oh yeah, I forgot about all the JSON crap. Dang. I won't worry about that for now. I remember I need to find a library for that because I definitely don't want to be doing that by hand. So I'm going to go ahead and actually perform this operation to try to create the index if it doesn't exist. And I don't know if there is an API to list all indexes at my Elasticsearch situation, but I should be able to try to query it at least. So we'll do a base URL here with at the test index priv mess, and then I want to do a query all from it. So Actually, no, I don't want to do that. I'll have to Google it. List indexes. Huh. Interesting. Sure. Why not? Says just a get. Error. Connection failure occurred. Do I have it running? Oh. Okay, that's what I was missing. See if it's actually started. Let's go ahead and clear the cache on this. Okay, so we got a response back. And ooh, it's in text format. Yeah. How about that? What does the V option do? Does nothing, I guess. Cool. So if I call that create index if not exist, I should get back my index that I wanted to create, which is going to be like some sort of test index. So I'm going to go ahead and name this I don't know what the V option is for. Let me try it without the V option. Oh, maybe the V option. Oh yeah, okay, this is better anyway without the V option. Okay, so I don't know why priv message is supposed to be the document, not an actual index, but I'll go with it. So elastic IRC bot. All right. So when I create an index with curl here, I should, by invoking this list indices, I should see my new index come up there. But in order to do that, I need to pass in, I need to look at this endpoint that I have here for creating the index, which is a put. So I need to change the header to that. I haven't done that for a curl request. I mean, there's post and get, but I don't know about a put. So let's go ahead and see if there is one. Ah, there is one. Okay, curl put. And this one's going to be 1L. Since this is a put, I can't do a post. And then I would need to set the post fields, which I have right here. And I'm just going to do this awful JSON by hand because I do not have a library right now to do it otherwise. Okay. Alright, so I should be able to do that. Start off there. I'm going to move my paw thing off screen so I can read it side by side. Okay, so it looks like to create an index I need quite a few params here. Wow, plus a mapping. Oh geez. I'll tell you what, let me Google real quick on how to do a multi-line string and see string literal. Let's see. Looks like I tried to Google this before. Okay. Oh boy. I definitely don't want to use a macro for it. I'm going to go ahead and search Stack Overflow because I do not know this off the top of my head. Well, in C++, it looks like you can do it A-OK, but we're doing C, so... Oh, I guess I don't need to use... Oh, okay. Interesting. Alright, we will try to do the plain C way without anything fancy. I'm going to go ahead and open up Sublime. This is going to make things easier on me to go ahead and get a formatted version of all this crazy JSON. I'm going to go ahead and, where's the text representation of it? There we go. Go ahead and paste it. Do some magic. Why isn't it not going to the... Okay, and then like so. This looks so dumb. Let's see here, and then I'm going to name this shoot, how do I name this? Oh, it's a part of the actual string bit here. When creating an index, I have to pass in the index name as part of the URL, so this is just additional stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and copy that, and I am going to go ahead and paste it in here. Oh no, that did not go as planned. That is awful. Okay. It'd be nice if I escaped my current strings I already have in there, so I'm going to go ahead and undo this real quick and then escape all the ones I have already. Escape, and then now I'm going to do multi-line. Push the go over. Oh boy, I didn't mean to do that. My home and end key are not working. Let's see here. Alright, well, I'll just do this. We'll start at the end and then work our way back. So we'll start there, and then we'll go back here, and then I'm just going to select A and then Control C. And then hopefully this pastes better. Much better. This will do. Okay. This time I'm going to pass in the document name of null. So I should probably handle that as well. So I'll make index the bare minimum required. Null and str. That way I can have document null. Okay, so pass in null null index name, and then hopefully this could possibly work. Let me go back to my main function, make sure I'm invoking that. Create index if not exist, and this time I'm going to call it test. And I'm going to throw in a breakpoint. Null. Oh, I need to edit my API here. Since I don't... Oh, I do need the name of the document. Sorry, I missed that. Wow. I missed it in my JSON output there, that I actually do in fact need it, so I'm going to undo what I just did. Sorry guys. Well, actually, no, I take that back. I don't need it for the URL in this case, so never mind my never mind. Okay. But here, I do need it. But for testing purposes, I'm just going to name this whatever I have upside or outside here in my main function, which is docNameTest. And let's see, and that ought to do it. Let's go ahead and build it. Throw a breakpoint, make sure that's in there, and then hopefully I will get my no errors and breakpoint hit. Let's go ahead and look at my, see if I actually, oh no, not that one. Let's see if I actually have it return in the list. Ah, it did not work. That is a shame. Let's see why. Alright, so I don't know if curl put can also accept post fields. So let's see if well, first it might be better for me to check to see if there's an error. So I'm going to go ahead and stop my debugger, check to see if there's an error, or to see what this returns first. I'm going to go ahead and see perform. Alright, so curl okay if it worked. So not equal to curl okay. Then go ahead and let printf to the std I think that is it. Or no, it's fprintf. Sorry, fprintf to std and then say that there was an error with the perform. So I'll go ahead and do that there. And then I will go ahead and try to build and run again. Ah, there was an error with curl. Okay. Wonder what that was. There should be a way to extract that out. Curl usually has a pretty good way to do that. Okay, it means everything was okay. Curl opt error buffer, so I need to set that. Alright, interesting. So when I go ahead up here and I create everything, I'm going to go ahead and create an curl easy set. I don't know why they just don't automatically just give me a string. I don't know why they want me to do a buffer, but whatever. Let's see, what was the option? Curl opt error buffer. Let's go ahead and Google that. I'm gonna go ahead and, oh wait, no, that's not what I wanted to paste in there. Okay. Going to cheat. Set that to 255. Curl error buffer 255. Now we'll do 250. I'll be consistent. And then in here I will pass in it, so a reference to it. through the search curl error buffer. Okay. And then I should be able to extract that out to get a readable message. Ooh, this is a constant, right? Okay. It must be at least of that. Okay, wow. All right. So since that's a constant, go ahead and do that. That should make it easy. Okay. Let's see an example of it. Okay, so it looks like it's just going to be put in there, so I should be able to access it. So fprintf, the curl buffer. And then we're going to do %s, and then we'll do connection search curl error buffer. That should print it out. Let's go ahead and stop and start again. Is it going to hit my breakpoint? No. Well, shoot, now I wonder if it actually performed okay. Well, nothing else happened. I doubt it did. Yeah. Probably didn't need to be, well, probably need to memset that. I could in fact actually put this as part of the connection, honestly, instead of the actual Elasticsearch instance, but I'll ignore that for now. Search buffer, populate with zeros. And then curl buffer is it curl opt buffer size? No. Curl error. So I should memset that, set it all to 0, zeroed it out. All right, let's try it again. Still nothing. Not even a bad access in the debugger. Oh. Oh. What the hell? It decided to create it this time. What? Okay. I didn't do anything different. What the hell? Maybe it was the fact I didn't have a buffer established. I don't know. I don't know why I printed that out though, but it wouldn't be in standard error. That's not standard error, that's standard out. It shouldn't have printed out anything. I said no body. Am I calling the wrong function here? Maybe I need to not call easy perform, but instead it shouldn't have printed out anything. I need to Google this real quick. Curl I have no body set turned on. Oh, that has -2. Oh, verbose. Okay, so... Sorry, I was looking at the wrong Stack Overflow there. I'm such an idiot. Alright. Go ahead and turn that off. No verboseness. At some point, I'm actually going to try to parse out and look at the header to see if it, or to at least get the status code, because that's when we really need to know whether or not this was successful. In this case, it was. So this should be okay now. Holy hell, that is slow. This is the problem with the synchronous call. Curl is a beefy library. I'm pretty sure I could do this a lot faster if I had just sent a custom header payload through a socket connection. No fprintf. This is taking a lot longer than it should just to go to my local host here. Because what I should be seeing now is my breakpoint hit, which it is not. At least if I know if I do that, it's still in there, my test index. Wow, wow, wow. This is not cool. I don't even know if it actually tried to make the connection out. How to do it. Yeah, so we at least get to the perform. And then it just decides to kick out. Oh, so it's only when I put in the breakpoint it decides to work? No, that don't seem right. Interesting. Ooh, do I need to do the disconnect immediately afterwards? I shouldn't have to. Yeah. Oh well. Something to look at later for sure. Okay, so that's all the time I have for tonight. I'm an hour and a half over of what I usually do. Okay, yeah, so that's it for tonight. At least I got curl working, some Fluent API working. So, yeah, that's all I have. As always, I can be found at my Twitch location on GitHub and YouTube. Right down here, there's the YouTube and GitHub. I will try to have the video posted later tonight. There wasn't much chats going on today. I was a little disappointed by that. We got one big old oh boy, and I agree with that one from Huntex. But yeah, I can be found on GitHub and YouTube. This project specifically is on my GitHub underneath repositories, Elastic IRC Bot. I will go ahead and commit today's code up to it. So sorry this one has been a little bit more rough than usual. Usually my presentations go a bit smoother, I think, but oh well, that's all I got. While I'm doing this, if you guys want to chat, feel free, and I can answer some questions if there are any, or if you have any comments, feel free to leave them. While I go ahead and try to do this commit message here. I need to figure out what version I'm actually on. No comments? Alright, well, I'm on number 11 now, so sorry, I was just checking this out. I was trying to create a commit message for this to be video 11. All right, that's it. No comments. All right. Okay, well, that's all I have. Thanks for watching. I will be back tomorrow. Okay, so adios.